Your mind is not confused. It is not weak. It is not broken. But right now, it is telling you things that feel true, even when they are not. And the most dangerous part is not the thoughts themselves. It is how believable they sound. Because when your mind speaks in your voice, it becomes almost impossible to argue with it. That is where overthinking begins. Not as a problem, but as something that feels like you trying to understand things properly. And slowly, without noticing, you stop questioning your thoughts and start believing them automatically, even when they are hurting you, even when they are not real. And today, in the first episode of Your Mind is Lying to You, we are going to uncover something that almost nobody realizes in time. Most overthinking is not thinking at all. It is your brain repeating fear and calling it logic. And once you see this clearly, the way you experience your own mind will never be the same again. Let's begin from something extremely ordinary, something you have experienced many times, maybe even today. You say something in a conversation. Maybe it was a little awkward. Maybe it was not even important. But later, when everything is quiet, your mind suddenly brings it back. And it doesn't just bring it back. It replays it again and again and again. But each time, it changes a little. It makes it worse. It adds meaning that was never there. It adds judgment that nobody actually said. And slowly, a simple moment becomes a full mental story. A story where you are embarrassed, rejected, misunderstood, or judged. But here is the strange part. Nothing new happened in reality, only your thoughts changed. And yet your emotional reaction becomes stronger every time. This is the first illusion of overthinking. Your mind is not showing you the event. It is showing you its interpretation of the event. And the more you repeat it, the more real it feels. But it is not reality. It is repetition. Now let's go a bit deeper, because the real question is not, why do I overthink? The real question is, why does my mind keep repeating things that hurt me? And the answer is uncomfortable, but simple. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you alive, and in survival terms. Remembering mistakes was once useful, because in ancient environments, a wrong decision could cost safety, acceptance, or survival. So your brain developed a system. If something caused discomfort, remember it, so it doesn't happen again. That system is still active inside you, but your life has changed. Now the threats are not physical, they are emotional, social, digital, invisible. So your brain takes modern situations and applies ancient survival logic to them. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A small mistake becomes embarrassment. A silence becomes danger. A change in tone becomes threat. And suddenly, your mind reacts as if something serious is happening, even when nothing is happening at all. This mismatch is where overthinking is born. Now let's slow down and look at what actually happens inside your mind during overthinking, because it is not random. It follows a pattern. It starts with a trigger, something small, a memory, a message, a moment, a feeling, and then your brain does something very automatic. It tries to explain it. But instead of finding one explanation, it starts generating multiple possibilities, and most of those possibilities are negative, not because they are true, but because negative predictions feel more urgent to the brain. So now one thought becomes 5, 5 becomes 10, 10 becomes a spiral, and suddenly you are no longer thinking about what happened. You are thinking about what it might mean, and what it might lead to, and what could go wrong, and what if it gets worse, and what if you misunderstood everything, and what if this affects your future, And now you are no longer inside reality. You are inside prediction loops. This is where people get trapped, because it feels like thinking, but it is actually fear exploring itself. Now, here is something even more important. Your mind does not present thoughts as suggestions. It presents them as conclusions. When a thought appears like, "They think you are weird," it does not feel like a guess. It feels like a fact, even though it is not. And this is why overthinking is powerful, because thoughts do not arrive with labels. They arrive with emotion, and emotion makes them feel real. Let's go into something you definitely know. Late night thinking. You are in bed. Everything is quiet. No distractions. And suddenly, your mind becomes extremely active. It starts reviewing your entire day. Your past mistakes, your future worries, your social interactions, your decisions, and everything starts feeling heavier than it actually is. And you might think, why is my mind doing this to me? But here is the truth. Your mind is not attacking you. It is reacting to silence. Because when external noise disappears, internal noise becomes louder. And the brain does not like emptiness. So it fills it with thoughts, with analysis, with scenarios, with replayed memories, even if they are not useful. Because to your brain, empty space feels like uncertainty, and uncertainty feels like something must be solved. So your mind keeps working, even when nothing needs to be solved. Now let's talk about something very subtle, something most people never notice. Overthinking always feels like it has a purpose. It feels like, if I think enough, I will find clarity. But notice your experience. Has overthinking ever actually given you clear answers? Or does it usually give you more confusion, more doubt, more scenarios, more emotional weight? That is because overthinking is not designed to solve problems. It is designed to simulate control. It gives you the feeling that you are doing something even when you are not moving forward. And this feeling of mental activity tricks you into staying inside it. Now let's go deeper into memory distortion. Your mind does something very unfair. It does not store your life equally. It prioritizes emotional moments, especially negative ones. So one embarrassing moment can feel as if it represents your entire identity, while 10 good moments can feel forgettable, and this creates a silent bias. Your mind slowly starts building a version of you, based on your worst moments, not your full reality, just fragments. And then, overthinking reinforces that image. It says, remember when you failed? Remember when you felt stupid? Remember when you were awkward? And it never says, remember when you handled things well? Because the goal of overthinking is not balance, it is caution, but caution without limits becomes self-doubt. Now let's bring in something very relatable. Imagine sending a message, and the other person does not reply immediately. That moment is neutral. Nothing has happened yet. But your mind does not stay neutral. It immediately starts building meaning. Maybe they are busy. Or maybe they are ignoring you. Or maybe you said something wrong. Or maybe they lost interest. Or maybe something changed. And now one missing reply becomes a full emotional story. But here is what is important. The situation did not change. Only your interpretation did, and your interpretation is based on fear, not fact. Now let's go even deeper into identity, because overthinking is not just about thoughts. It slowly becomes self-definition. People start saying things like, I overthink everything. I can't stop my mind. I always ruin things by thinking too much. And without realizing it, these statements become identity labels. And once a thought becomes identity, it becomes harder to question, because now it does not feel like a thought I have. It feels like who I am. But here is something you need to understand clearly. You are not your thinking patterns. You are the awareness noticing them, and awareness is always bigger than thought. Now let's talk about something important. Why do thoughts feel uncontrollable? Because most thoughts are not consciously created. They appear automatically, like background processes in the brain, and when you try to stop them forcefully, you actually give them more attention, and what you resist strengthens. So the goal is not control. The goal is recognition, because the moment you recognize, this is overthinking happening. You create distance, and distance changes everything. Now the thought is no longer inside you, it is something you are observing, and observation reduces emotional intensity. Let's bring this into a simple example. Imagine walking on a road and hearing random noise from a distance. You do not analyze every sound. You do not try to understand every voice. You simply let it pass, because you know not everything deserves attention, but your mind does not treat thoughts this way automatically. It treats every thought as important, every thought as meaningful, every thought as urgent. And that is why people get mentally exhausted, not because they are thinking too much, but because they are responding to too much. Now let's go into the core psychological truth of this episode. Overthinking is not a thinking problem, it is a trust problem. When your mind does not trust reality, it creates simulations. When it does not trust uncertainty, it creates predictions. When it does not trust silence, it creates noise. And when it does not trust itself, it keeps checking everything again and again. This is why overthinking feels endless, because it is not looking for answers. It is looking for certainty, and certainty is something the human mind cannot fully achieve. Life is always partially unknown, but your mind struggles to accept that, so it keeps trying and trying and trying. Now let's move into the turning point of understanding. There is a huge difference between thinking and awareness. Thinking says, what is wrong? What if something bad happens? Did I make a mistake? Awareness says, a thought is happening. That is a fear-based idea. This is a memory replaying. And awareness does not argue with thoughts. It simply sees them. And this changes everything. Because thoughts lose power when they are seen clearly. They only grow when they are believed unconsciously. Now let's make this practical. Next time your mind starts overthinking, do not try to stop it, do not try to fix it, do not try to solve it, just notice. This is my mind creating stories again. That small shift is powerful because it breaks automatic belief. And when belief breaks, repetition slows down. Now let's go deeper into emotional truth. Most overthinking is not about the present moment. It is about emotional protection. Your mind is trying to prevent future pain, but in doing so, it creates present suffering. And that is the paradox. You suffer now to avoid suffering later. That may never happen, and most of the time, never does. Now let's reach the final insight. Your mind will not always tell you the truth, but it will always tell you something it believes is protecting you, even if it is wrong, even if it is exaggerated, even if it is painful. So the goal is not to fight your mind. The goal is to understand it. Because once you understand it, you stop obeying every thought automatically, and you start choosing what deserves your attention and what does not. And that is the beginning of mental freedom. Not silence of thoughts, but distance from them, and in that distance, you finally realize something powerful. You are not inside your thoughts. You are the one observing them come and go, and if you are observing them, then they cannot define you. They can only pass through you. And this is where the series truly begins. Because In the next episode, we will explore another lie your mind tells you every single day, a lie that affects your confidence, your decisions, and even your relationships, without you ever realizing it.